week of, and here we are, another week of Deal Doctor live stream. It's 1 o'clock. Hey, we're kind of on time today. Actually, even maybe a few seconds early from my clock. But I'm here, Eric's here, and we have a special guest, Luke Llewellyn from Big Lake Mortgage. Welcome, Luke.
Yeah, welcome. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so we're going to start right into it. Big Lake Mortgage. Can you tell us a little about Big Lake Mortgage as kind of an introduction of the company, and take it away. Just tell us a little bit about Big Lake Mortgage.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are a brokerage that Five Star reached out to Movement Joint Ventures, which is a lending company, a brokerage company that teams up with real estate offices to form lending companies. And we form Big Lake Lending with the Carlsons and Movement Joint Ventures. And what we are is we are a traditional lender. We do all of the standard questions you might ask. We have, conventional FHA, VA, USDA, all the products. We could do a full sales pitch on products if we wanted to for the next 45 minutes. But we are a brokerage, which means we can go to 4 different lenders through me. So one of the cool features is with one application, one credit pull, I can shop for your client on rate through our different lenders. And every different lender that we're able to use has different products, different specializations, different things that they can do, which just kind of spreads out our abilities to provide exactly what a client is looking for. And we launched Big Lake Lending in October, and have just been coming alongside Five Star and just being a partner. I've had several conversations with different agents where maybe they're not even going to send me a deal, but because of our partnership, I'm happy to help them navigate through different lending ideas and what they're going through. Although Don, Eric, I do like to say, I do prefer when they do send a deal after I answer those questions as well. But that's just a kind of like an intro of Big Lake, where, partner with Five Star. I work directly for Five Star agents. I don't work with any agents outside of Five Star. So I'm just another tool to the tool belt that is provided.
Well, I know I sent a young man to you who's looking to get a mortgage, got some things going on. So thank you for following up with him, but help me understand a little bit more. When you say that you can shop various lenders, who the ones who actually carry the paper or sell it off later in the secondary market, it doesn't matter which, but who might give us a little identity about who those end lenders are. Can you do that? Yeah,
so we have Movement Mortgage, who is a very large lender in North America. Last year they did 70-80 billion in closings between retail and wholesale. And then we have Caliber, which has just recently changed their name to New Res, which is a similar size lender. And then we have one specifically called Orion, that is where we go if we're looking at DPA, down payment assistance, or even if we have someone that maybe has some serious credit dings, and most lenders are going to say 580 is the absolute lowest we will go. With this lender Orion, we can actually go below 580 at times, so that we can still provide lending for that. And then we have a fourth one called Home Point, which has their own specific products, a lot of non-QM products, which would be more your portfolio loans, bank statement loans, just different types of loans to where we can fit people into. So they're well reputable lenders that have wholesale sides that we can tap into. And the cool thing about being a broker is we're even still looking to add more weapons, more lenders that are offering things that maybe we can't offer yet. We're looking and interviewing more lenders to bring on that we can continue to offer more and more, so that we have something for everybody. Well, mostly everybody.
Mostly everybody. Eric, any questions for Luke?
Yeah, one of the things that comes up quite often for questions is when we use these as a brokerage and we're using these other lenders, is it still the same time frame? Are we still able to close quickly? Are there certain programs out there, for example, where maybe we have a client, a buyer, and the deal falls through right in the middle for some reason, and now all of a sudden we need another lender to maybe wrap things up within 2 weeks or 3 weeks. Hurry up. I mean,
Yeah.
Is there something out there for someone who is in need of saying, hey, I need a quick turnaround?
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's a great question. So standard contract, you're looking at 30 days, right? Sometimes 45 days for a little bit of time. 30 days is plenty of time for every single lender we work with. We really shoot to try to get things moving and in a spot to where they can close inside of 3 weeks. Granted how the appraisal goes, how the inspections go, how quickly the buyer actually gets back to us sometimes and gets us what we need. But that 30 days is we're always going to get inside that 30, or we're always going to shoot to get inside that 30 days. I don't want to say always anything, because we know in this business, nothing is always. There are some products or scenarios where I do like to shoot for that 45 days, given, what are we working through? What do we have to get sourced? What are the details of the deal? But 30 days is our standard, and all of our lenders can get inside that 30 days. And then if sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there. Like if we have one of those that came over to us midway through and appraisal's already in and we're already underway, we can absolutely turn that thing around as quickly as we need to. You need 7 days from application and signing to closing for compliance reasons. But absolutely, if we already have everything in, all we need to do is get an underwriter to look at it and get that approval, maybe source a couple of things. We can get that thing turned around really quickly.
I think, and here's a follow-up question. I think that I hear from agents that sometimes we get very frustrated with lenders because of the biggest issue, lack of communication.
Yeah.
Where are we in the process? Right? Everyone wants to know, where are we? Is there a notification system? How do you guys like to work when it comes to helping us understand where we are in the clear to close, or getting everything wrapped up and getting up to the point of we finally got the clear to close?
Yeah, no, totally. I think every agent is so different. So I think every communication setup is going to be a little different as we learn to grow and work together. I like to give updates at every single step. So we're here, we're pre-approved, we're under contract, we're approved conditions. Hey, I'm waiting on conditions. One thing that I think is really a strength of a loan officer is the ability to add the agent in the conversation if we're trying to get something and we're having trouble. Because the last thing that you would want is, I'm not able to get, let's keep it easy. I'm not able to get a bank statement I need. And I've reached out to the borrower 4 times and they're still not getting it over to me. Well, then why would I not tell the agent, hey, I've reached out 4 times. I can't get this. We need this to go forward. So I think it's developing a rhythm with the agent and then over communicating and communicating early, because it's not a problem unless it's not communicated. Or it's not a problem if it is communicated. It's a problem if it's not communicated.
Yeah.
So you're going to run into speed bumps. You're going to have a hiccup. Something is going to come up in certain deals. And if on my end, I hide it and try to fix it instead of just saying, hey, hit a snag, working on it, this is what we need to do, then you can jump on my side like, oh, well, actually, I have a solution for that. Let's do this, and just working together. And I think, touching base weekly is a start, and then not disappearing on closing day is a finish.
That's good information.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do want you there on closing day. Let's talk a little bit about your location, your accessibility. I know that you have your own office there. You're sitting in a very lovely office, and so you have a location, physical location and staff there.
Mhm.
And where are you located? Just if I may.
Yeah, so I'm in Virginia Beach, Virginia.
Okay,
So I am remote. We have brick and mortar building. We're actually in a building together with the support staff that makes up and supports Big Lake Lending. And we're all kind of in this little hallway together.
but you spend a lot of time here in Grand Rapids. I've noticed that. So, do you, when you're here in Grand Rapids, for example, do you have access to the 5-star offices no matter where they are in the state of Michigan? Is
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
am I
Absolutely.
understanding correctly?
Mhm.
Okay, so how much time do you spend here in Michigan? Because I see you quite often. And
Yeah.
so I'm curious, is that a third, a quarter, 10% of your time?
No, it's not quite that much. I come up once a quarter
Okay.
for a stint, and then I guess I did a decent job. Try to be seen as much as possible, and
You
know,
very well.
one of the things that I have heard in this industry as a whole quite a few times is people like local. I want local, and now we are a local company. We are in partnership with 5-star. I am remote myself, but it is a local company based. And the big thing is people like local, but I think what people want more than local is they want available. What does it do you if you have someone that's local that doesn't answer their phone? Or what does it do you if you have somebody local that doesn't respond to emails when you need emails? So it's one of the most important things in my side is availability. Am I able to answer your calls on the weekend or at night or even during work hours? Sometimes, never in this industry, but sometimes you call people and it's like 2 o'clock on a Tuesday and it's straight to voicemail. But the thing about Big Lake is we are available and we're ready to help. Like just yesterday, I had an agent reach out to me at 11 o'clock on Sunday, and I was able to speak with the lead. We got the pre-qual by 2 o'clock, sent the pre-qual out to them. They made the offer. They got under contract this morning at 10 o'clock.
So
And that was all on a Sunday phone call because of availability. So we are not, I am not physically in Grand Rapids or Lansing or Kalamazoo on a day-to-day basis, but I'm always available, whether that be mornings, nights, weekends, when you need to work or when you have somebody that wants to speak and go through this process, I'm ready to work and speak with them.
Well, as I mentioned in our conversation before, about half an hour ago or so, the world of business has changed dramatically over the last 30 years since the internet came along and started to get popular. As I mentioned to you, both of my daughters grew up as essentially on the internet, learning the internet as children and continuing to use it. So we have now 2 generations who, for them, it's second nature to go on the internet and obtain a service and whether you're shopping for cars or anything else. So can you address that? Because a lot of folks go on the internet. I certainly do myself. I spend a lot of money on Amazon, but how has that changed the nature of the mortgage industry in the last few years, and especially since COVID, which is now 3 years ago?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a complete shift. I mean, with .loop, with e-signing, with online applications, you can almost go through this entire process and not even talk to somebody or see somebody. It's a complete online process. And I think it gives clients a lot of strength because they can, let me see how to say this right. They can be braver almost behind the application. They'll ask more questions. They'll, look into stuff more like, hey, why is this? What is this charge? Or why is this fee there? And they're a little bit more forefront, as opposed to sometimes when you sit down with somebody, it's you get nervous and you sign the dotted line, like, yep, everything was great, get you out of the door. And I'm noticing, I read a stat the other day. It was for Gen Z buyers, which Gen Zs are buying houses, which is pretty awesome. But it was 97% or in that range of them are starting online by looking at different sites to get pre-approved before they even reach out to any lender. And that's just the new norm of the lending process. And I see even a question right now of, how would we handle someone that isn't electronically savvy? And that is a good question. And since I don't have a brick and mortar by every office, which it would be hard to have a brick and mortar by every 5-star office, wouldn't it? You'd have to have quite the big spot. But that's where kind of the teamwork comes in. Of if I'm working with an agent and we have a client that doesn't know how to scan or get documents to me, working together with the agent and that buyer to get those documents and have the agent scan and send them over, unless they really want to mail them, which I'm open to that as well. But we are seeing the majority be a big shift to online. We're seeing everything move to this electronic front and people getting more and more comfortable. And one thing that we do on our side is, as every lending company would do, is we're encrypting everything. Our platform for our application is completely secure. You have to have a login, and it tracks, certain metrics to make sure that the right person is in the right file and doing the right things. So it's a big shift, and even COVID has brought more of a big shift, I guess, online. But we're seeing a different market than we were 5 years ago and definitely 10 years ago.
Yeah. Now, I just saw Brian Cribb's note about how do we help elderly clients who are not technically savvy. And my question is, it's not necessarily age related, albeit, there may be more in my generation who don't understand how to use the internet and email and electronic signatures and all that than some of the other generations, but it can happen pretty much across the board. And what you just shared with us here is that the agent can help. The agent can be part of your processing team to get them in, even with a Zoom meeting or something where you can sit down and say, here's what we're doing here. Is that what I'm understanding?
Yeah. And, I haven't run into it many times in my time in the mortgage industry. Even when I have been in the same city as somebody who is going through the process, and sometimes they're not super technologically savvy, there are ways that we can walk them through and hold their hand a little bit more so that we can get to where we need to go. And I've had some people where the best they can do is they pull out their cell phone, they snap pictures of documents. That's great, as long as we have that complete document. You don't cut off a corner, rip off a page, and put Sharpie on it. We can use that and be able to add that in. But yeah, it's just a partnership and walking through with them together. And now if somebody says there's no way, I need to sit down with this person, I need to shake their hand, I need to feel them in the same room, then that is completely fine. If it so happens to align with when I'm up there, perfect. If it doesn't, then we can look at different options for what that would look like.
Yeah. Eric, any other, I do want to touch on before we leave, and I said I really didn't want to talk a lot about interest rates here today because after all, we get enough of that on the nightly news. We can pretty much identify from what's happening on the news what the interest rates are doing. Do you see any trends for mortgages in general? What do you, whether it's interest rates or the approval percentages out there, are mortgages going to be more difficult to get? Are the interest rates going higher? That sort of thing. Any trends that you see that you might predict?
I will tell you one trend is if you watch the news and get your mortgage information from the news, you're going to think that this whole thing's falling apart. Because,
Well, yeah.
man, my goodness, sometimes I watch it, I'm like, wow, it's that bad. I didn't know. But as far as
I
trends,
bought, I bought a house in 1982. Come on. This is nothing compared to 1982 or even 1992.
I
So,
was one of those lucky people. I bought in 2020, and was able to secure that 2.75 interest rate, which is just doesn't even make sense in the reality of lending. That is a wild rate. But as far as trends go, it's hard to really map out a trend of what the rates are going to do, because there are so many factors into what the rates are right now. We can't forecast what world politics and what potential natural disasters or what is going to happen in the world to really understand where the rates are going to be. Right now, in the short term, I can tell you, we've gotten a lot of really good inflationary data back to where it looks like through the Fed's hikes and through everything opening back up, that we are seeing inflation cool off and we're seeing activity get better. The Fed are meeting on Wednesday. They have a big press conference on Wednesday where they're going to hike the rate another 25 basis points. And a lot of people are believing that this might be the last time they hike the rate, which, round of applause, happy emojis, whatever, which will be great. But the trend has been, we've seen rates have cooled off. We've seen rates come down from where they were at last spring and this summer, where they got to a point that was, quite a bit higher. And we're predicting that they're going to continue to go that way. So one of the big dates, and I put this in the update email, I think last week or the week before, but one of the big dates is May 10th. So the inflation data, they keep it all for a year, and they run the rates based off the entire year's data. So May 10th of last year is when we really started to see some negative numbers come through. We started to see those rates really go up. This year, we've seen the inflation come down. So when we hit May 10th again, May 10th, 2023 is going to replace May 10th, 2022. And those numbers are going to look a whole lot better than they were a year ago. So we're predicting that we're going to be, in those mid fives, lower fives, hopefully, come this springtime, and see some of that relief in that way. But as far as market trends, one of the big discussions is inventory. How do we get more inventory? And Don, I don't know if you have any answers to this, but I don't think you can build more land. I think we're all maxed out on how much land is on the earth, right?
pretty much. Yeah.
So inventory is one of those things that it's going to continually be some pressure. There's more people that want to buy than houses are to be bought out there, and we're going to continually run into that situation. But the market has been picking up. I've seen more activity over the last several months than I have previously. It's a good time to buy because there aren't as many battles that we're seeing for contracts. Or the last spring, you'd have like 55 offers on one house. Right now, it might only be 5 offers that you're competing against. So we're seeing that rates are coming down. Purchase prices came down a hair because of the competition, and it's a good time to be able to find that median of, I have a little bit lower rate, a little bit lower purchase price, and I'm able to get a good monthly payment. Where, as we get lower and lower in interest rate and more people enter the market to potentially buy, it'll drive those purchase prices back up, which we'll see kind of the monthly payment stay the same.
Yeah. And I think in terms of trends, when you talk about that, you're absolutely right. It's all about inventory right now. If agents can get the inventory, if they're fortunate enough to be able to get listings, they generally will sell unless they're really, really dogs on the market. So I think that as the consumer confidence builds with the lowering of inflation, food prices getting into check. All of the things that we've been concerned about over the last couple of years. I think that the consumer's confidence is going to raise. Employment numbers are good. Interest rates may level off and get better. We may see people decide to go ahead with their plans where they've been holding off for now 3 years.
Yeah.
We may see more inventory come onto the market. And before I move on, Christina says, what are loan options for vacant land? She has an FHA buyer who would rather do a land purchase, but she's not aware of anything out there that could go for down payment assistance, anything. Any thought on that, Luke?
So as a traditional lender, we are residential mortgages. So things that we're not able to do, unfortunately, would be vacant land or commercial. It's going to be strictly residential. So unfortunately, I wouldn't personally be able to help her with the vacant land, but I could definitely point her in the right direction. So I will, Christine, if you're listening to me right now, I'll reach out to you and we can kind of come up with a plan for that. Maybe give you some ideas.
Yeah, very often local, some banks who will carry paper on it. They'll actually hold the paper in their portfolio, and there's not a lot of options, frankly, when you get to vacant. But
and that's one of the big differences you're going to find between a traditional lender and a bank or a credit union. Banks or credit unions are typically going to hold on to a lot of those deals and those loans, and they're not going to sell them to a Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, secondary service provider. So they don't necessarily follow the same rules as a Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, because they're going to hold on to that mortgage, so they can do things a little differently.
Yeah. Eric, any thoughts? I want to make sure that Luke posts a link to his contact information, website, or whatever he wants to do here in the thread so that people can see it afterwards. But any thoughts before we wrap up here?
No, it's always informative. Every time I speak with you, Luke, it's always good to hear what you have to say, and continue to wish you all the best of luck as you keep expanding. And we'll keep pushing business if we can. Yeah,
absolutely. It's a good time to buy. I mean,
you betcha. Hey, Luke, thanks for joining. Eric, good to see you. We'll be chatting more throughout the week. Thank you all for joining, and we'll see you next week.
Take care.